Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty fundamental, logic and emotion. We often see them as total opposites, right?
Yeah, like head versus heart, the classic battle.
Exactly. But we're going to dig into your source material today to see how emotions actually weave into our logical thinking. It's not always a battle.
hmm
We'll look at how strong feelings can sometimes, twist our perception, maybe limit our choices, even lock us into our own biases.
But also, crucially, how they can sometimes give us a nudge in the right direction. It's not all negative.
Right. So this source material, it kind of challenges that old view, doesn't it? The idea that logic is purely rational and emotions just mess things up.
It really does. It paints a much more complex picture, showing how deeply tangled they are. Our decisions are almost always a mix, and sometimes, well, the results don't seem entirely logical because of that emotional input.
Okay, let's get specific then. The source talks about negative emotions like anger. How does that actually cloud our thinking?
Well, anger, according to the source, can cause this.
Hmm.
Uh, Almost like tunnel vision. Cognitive narrowing, I think, is the term used.
Tunnel vision, meaning?
Meaning you focus intensely on what's making you angry, and you might just ignore or dismiss any facts or perspectives that don't fit that feeling.
Ah, so you're not seeing the whole picture.
Not at all. You're getting a very one-sided view,
Hmm.
which obviously can lead you to some, well, flawed conclusions.
Right.
Logically flawed.
And fear, that's another big one mentioned. How does fear limit us?
Fear often triggers a really strong aversion to risk. So even if, logically taking a certain risk might be okay or even good for you,
Fear just slams the brakes on.
pretty much. It makes us want to play it safe,
Mm.
avoid that potential threat, even if the threat isn't as big as it feels. It can really shut down options that might be perfectly reasonable.
And the source also suggested emotions can kind of cement our existing beliefs, make us less open.
Yeah, it touches on that. It's almost like an emotional version of confirmation bias. If something feels right or confirms what we already feel, we're more likely to accept it and less likely to engage with stuff that challenges us.
So our feelings are acting like gatekeepers for information, in a way.
You could say that.
But it's not all bad, you said. The source does suggest emotions can sometimes be helpful.
Absolutely. It points out that sometimes, especially when things are uncertain or we need to decide quickly, our emotions can act as a kind of guide, like intuition,
Intuition, based on what?
based on our past experiences, probably. The feelings associated with those experiences give us a sort of shortcut, faster than trying to analyze every single detail logically, perhaps.
Okay, and the source used joy as a positive example. How does joy help logic?
Well, joy can broaden our perspective,
Hmm.
make us more optimistic, maybe help us focus on the positive potential in a situation.
So instead of narrowing like anger, it opens things up.
Exactly. It might allow us to see possibilities or solutions that a purely analytical or maybe a fearful mindset might miss entirely. The emotion is kind of shaping what we even consider logical.
Hmm. So, emotions can pull us off course, but they can also guide us. What's the key then, according to the source? How do we navigate this?
Awareness. That seems to be the central theme, just recognizing when emotions are stepping in.
Being aware of how you're feeling and how it might be influencing your thoughts.
Precisely. It's about creating a little space, maybe, between the feeling itself and your rational assessment. Not to ignore the feeling, but to understand its role.
So it's not about trying to be purely logical robots.
Definitely not. The source really seems to advocate for integrating both, using your feelings as valuable data alongside your rational thought to make more balanced, well-rounded decisions.
Okay, so summing up this deep dive based on your material, that old logic versus emotion fight, it's too simple.
Way too simple.
Emotions are deeply involved in our reasoning. Yes, they can distort things, limit our view, lock us in. Anger, fear, we see that.
But they also offer guidance, intuition, maybe even optimism, joy, for instance.
And the crucial thing is awareness. Knowing yourself, knowing how your feelings might be coloring your logic, and then consciously deciding how to use both.
It's about harnessing them, really, controlling and leveraging emotions, as the source puts it.
Which leads to a really interesting final thought for you, the listener. Think about a decision you made recently, maybe a big one, maybe small.
Yeah, reflect on that. How might your emotions, even subtly, have steered your logical thinking?
Yeah.
And what might have changed if you'd approached it with just a bit more awareness of those feelings? Something to mull over.